reporting to you today from Camp David, the historic U.S. Presidential Summit outside of Washington, D.C., where today President Joe Biden hosted the President of South Korea, President Yoon, and the Prime Minister of Japan, Prime Minister Kishida, for what the White House called its first trilateral summit among the three leaders to modernize, strengthen, and their cooperation on major global issues. With the historic picturesque Camp David serving as the backdrop of this trilateral summit. Today's event, which brought together two U.S. allies from the Indo-Pacific region to form a stronger alliance as a show of strength against mutual global threats to international peace and security and democratic values and freedom, was the first ever international summit held at Camp David since 2015 after the Obama-Biden era. Announced at the summit were a range of security and economic agreements, including cooperating on artificial intelligence, working to manage cybersecurity threats, and managing supply chain risk and maritime in the Indo-Pacific. Of significance to our audience in Africa are announcements by the three leaders to boost investments in global infrastructure and global health for developing countries that will support the global infrastructure agenda already put forth by the G7 leaders. They also agreed to cooperate on new initiatives that will support women's and youth empowerment and triple efforts on ending cancer through the Biden Cancer Moonshot program. I spoke with the White House National Security spokesperson on what this means for the global community ahead of the press conference of the three leaders. Listen to what she has to say, and then we will join the press conference. So for this trilateral summit, can you talk to us about what does it mean for the global world and what should the rest of the world expect to get out of this?
Yeah, well, first, to take a step back, today begins a new era of trilateral cooperation. This is a hallmark of the president's approach to foreign policy, which is reinvesting in allies in the Indo-Pacific, also around the world, and figuring out how those partnerships can work for today. And so having a more stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific is something the whole world benefits from, and it's something that in this interconnected economy and interconnected security environment is critical to making sure that we do the best we can to stay safe and to be prepared for new opportunities that we can take.
We know Camp David historically has been a place where a lot of regarding U.S. diplomacy.
Yeah.
So the significance of having this summit taking place here, talk to us about that.
It is indescribable. This is the first time that this president's had a leader at Camp David. It's actually the first time, I think, since 2015 that we've had a world leader at Camp David, and then it is the first trilateral summit with this group. So it does indicate, this is weighty, a weighty site. It is indicates the gravitas, and I think the president finds this it is an appropriate way to show our respect for these leaders who have so much political courage and have done such great work to elevate these relationships to where we are now.
For the private sector, U.S. private sectors, as well as the rest of the world, they are looking at this summit. Since the president came on board, there has been a lot of investment from both South Korea and Japan. President Biden has also traveled to both to Japan also. So, what should the private sector also expect to get out of this?
Well, yeah, I think that's a really smart question because there is a lot of attention paid to the security environment and the deliverables discussed today that have to do with that. But equally important, right, is the economic cooperation and the economic security that come from the deliverables that we're announcing. So that would be like a huge one today is supply chain resilience and data sharing between countries to ensure critical minerals or semiconductors, so much more, that we are sharing the information we have and communicating with each other to enable our economy to be as free and prosperous as it can be.
And in terms of strengthening alliance to deal with the emergence of China and also the threat from South Korea, can you talk about that aspect?
Yeah, we do say today is not about any one country or about any one challenge. Of course, we have similar security environments and concerns about similar threats. And to that end, we have incredible deliverables today on the security front. We have the commitment to consult with each other, so talking about threats in real time and comparing information. We have the crisis hotline, and we'll be doing these trilateral exercises annually. So making that regularity in the relationships is really important, really helpful.
Thank you very much for talking with us. Thank you. In this meeting,
Distinguished guests, please take your seats. Thank you.
that include the Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo. There is a significant investment from Japan, Japanese company or South Korean company, utilizing the Ships Concerns Act that the president signed. Let's read it.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Camp David. If I seem like I'm happy, it's because I am. This has been a great, great meeting. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, we meet in this historic place to make a historic moment, and I believe that to be true. This is a new era in partnership between Japan, the Republic of Korea, and the United States. Our new Camp David Trilat. That's what we have here. But before we dive into the progress we've made today, if you excuse, we used to say in the Senate a point of personal privilege, I want to start by expressing my appreciation for the contribution that your countries have made toward the relief following the devastating wildfires in Hawaii. Thank you both. On behalf of the American people, I also want to note that my team is closely monitoring Hurricane Hillary, which has the potential to bring significant rain and flooding to Southern California. FEMA has prepositioned personnel and supplies in the region, and they're ready to respond as needed. I urge everyone in the path of this storm to take precautions and listen to the guidance from state and local officials. And you heard me say it before, the Republic of Korea and Japan are capable and indispensable allies. Now to the purpose of why we're here. America's commitment to both countries is ironclad, and my personal commitment to bringing these three nations together was real from the very beginning. Since last summer, we've met on the margins of the NATO summit in Spain, the ASEAN summit in Cambodia, and the G7 summit in Japan. Today, we've made history with the first ever standalone summit between the leaders of our three countries, as well as our commitment to meet together on the leader level annually and to have all our relevant cabinet member people meet on a regular basis from this point on. Not just this year, not next year, forever. That's the intention. And so I want to recognize the important work that both of you have done and the political courage, and I mean this sincerely, the political courage that you both demonstrated to resolve difficult issues that would have stood in the way for a long time in a close relationship between Japan and Korea and with the United States. Your leadership, with the full support of the United States, has brought us here because each of you understands that our world stands at an inflection point. A point where we're called to lead in new ways, to work together, to stand together. And today I'm proud to say our nations are answering that call. First, we're elevating our trilateral defense collaboration to deliver an Indo-Pacific region that includes launching annual multi-domain military exercises, bringing our trilateral defense cooperation to unprecedented levels. We're doubling down on information sharing, including on the DPRK's missile launches and cyber activities, strengthening our ballistic missile defense cooperation, and critically, we've all committed to swiftly consult with each other in response to threats to any one of our countries from whatever source it occurs. That means we'll have a hotline to share information and coordinate our responses whenever there is a crisis in the region or affecting any one of our countries. And today, we've all reaffirmed our shared commitment to maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits and addressing economic coercion. We're going to continue to counter threats from the DPRK, including cryptocurrency money laundering to the tune of billions of dollars, potential arms transfer in support of Russia's brutal war against Ukraine. And together, we're going to stand up for international law, freedom of navigation, and the peaceful resolution of disputes in the South China Sea. Second, we're expanding our economic cooperation to build an Indo-Pacific that is peaceful and prosperous. Today, we've committed to launch a new, what we call a supply chain early warning system, supply chain early warning system pilot, and which will alert our nations to disruptions of certain products and materials like critical minerals or batteries, so we can get ahead of the issues as they appear with the experience that we've experienced during the pandemic. Excuse me, this is falling off. There you go. And building on the G7-led Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, we're deepening cooperation between our development finance institutions to mobilize more financing for quality infrastructure and secure communications technology to help low-income and middle-income countries throughout the region take on the challenges that matter most to their people. And finally, our partnership is about building a better future for our people. That's why we're deepening our cooperation on global health and launching a trilateral expert exchange in support of the U.S. Cancer Moonshot Initiative. That's going to, I believe, change cancer as we know it. It matters a great deal to me and to families all across our three countries. In the United States, we are revolutionizing the way we do cancer research, and together, the three of us, I'm confident, we can harness our shared spirit of innovation and end cancer as we know it. We're also launching a new collaboration between our national laboratories and advance our science knowledge and technological capabilities together. As we do, we'll work in lockstep to set the standards for safe, secure, and trustworthy emerging technology, including artificial intelligence, which a lot of work has to be done on. Let me close with this. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, this is the first summit I've hosted at Camp David as president. I can think of no more fitting location to begin our next era of cooperation. A place that has long symbolized the power of new beginnings and new possibilities. In the months and years ahead, we're going to continue to seize those possibilities together, unwavering in our unity and unmatched in our resolve. This is not about a day, a week, or a month. This is about decades and decades of relationships that we're building. Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your leadership, and I say it again, for your courage that brought us together. I look forward to working with both of you ahead. Now I will yield to, who am I yielding to?
Distinguished guests, the President of the Republic of Korea.
We needed the voice of God to tell us.
바이든 대통령님의 특별한 환대 감사드립니다. 기시다 총리님과 함께 캠프 데이비드를 방문하게 돼서 매우 기쁘게 생각합니다. 이곳 캠프 데이비드는 현대사의 고비마다 중요한 외교적 결정이 이루어진 역사의 현장입니다. 오늘날 미중유의 복합 위기에 대응하기 위해서는 역내 가장 발전된 자유민주주의 국가이자 경제 대국으로서 또 첨단 기술과 과학 혁신을 선도하고 있는 한미일 3국의 강력한 연대가 어느 때보다 중요합니다. 이제 캠프 데이비드는 한미일 3국이 자유, 인권, 법치의 공동 가치를 바탕으로 규범 기반의 국제 질서를 증진하고 영내 안보와 번영을 위해 중심적 역할을 수행할 것을 천명한 역사적 장소로 기억될 것입니다. 오늘 우리 새 정상은 처음으로 한미일 단독 정상회담을 갖고 한미일 협력의 새로운 장을 열었습니다. 오늘 우리 새 정상은 향후 한미일 협력의 지속력 있는 지침이 될 캠프 데이비드의 원칙에 합의했습니다. 또 한미일 협력의 비전과 그 이행 방안을 담은 문서인 캠프 데이비드 정신을 마련했습니다. 우선 우리는 한미일 협력의 안정적인 발전을 위해 다양한 수준과 분야에서 삼국 협력의 제도적 기반을 구축하였습니다. 한미일 정상회의 정례화와 함께 삼국의 외교장관, 국방장관, 국가안보보좌관을 포함한 각급 인사들이 각 분야에서 매년 만나 삼국 간 협력 방안을 긴밀하게 조율해 나가기로 했습니다. 특히 우리 새 정상은 삼국 공동의 이해를 위협하는 역내 긴급한 현안이 발생한 경우 신속하게 협의하고 대응하기 위한 소통 채널을 수립하기로 했습니다. 아울러 역내 삼국 간 전략적 협력을 강화하기 위한 차관복급 한미일 인태대화를 창설하고 인태지역 내 새로운 협력 분야를 발굴해 나갈 것입니다. 우리는 또한 삼국 NSC 주도로 운영 중인 경제안보대화와 함께 개발정책 공조를 위한 협의체도 창설하기로 했으며 글로벌 보건, 여성과 같은 다양한 분야에서 협력 체계를 구축하기로 했습니다. 한미일 미래 세대 간 유대를 강화하기 위한 한미일 청소년 정상회의도 개최하기로 했습니다. 다음으로 우리는 제도화된 협력 기반을 바탕으로 한미일 3국 국민의 안전과 영내 평화를 보장하기 위한 안보 협력을 한층 더 강화해 나가기로 했습니다. 우선 전례 없이 고도화된 북한의 핵과 미사일 위협에 대한 공동의 대응 역량을 제고하기 위한 실질적 협력 방안을 협의하였습니다. 지난 11월 프놈펜 정상회의 시에 합의한 북한 미사일 경보 정보의 실시간 공유가 올해 안에 본격 가동될 것이며 이는 3국의 북한 미사일 탐지와 추적 역량을 강화하는 중요한 진전이 될 것입니다. 우리는 또한 북한의 핵 미사일 위협에 대응하기 위한 3국 간 방어 훈련의 중요성에 공감하고 연간 계획에 따라 한미일 훈련을 실시하기로 합의했습니다. 한편 북한의 핵 미사일 개발 재원을 마련하기 위한 노동력과 인권 착취를 감시하고 차단하는 노력을 배가하고 북한의 불법 자금 조달을 막기 위해 3국 간 북한 사이버 활동 대응 실무 그룹도 신설하기로 했습니다. 아울러 한미일 3국은 인태 전략 추진 과정에서 일방적인 힘에 의한 현상 변경에 반대하고 주권 존중, 영토 보전, 분쟁의 평화적 해결과 같은 규범에 기반한 국제 질서를 수호하기 위한 협력을 한층 더 강화해 나아가기로 하였습니다. 이러한 노력의 일환으로 한미일 3국이 아세안과 태도국의 해양 안보 역량 강화를 지원해 나아가기로 했습니다. 더 나아가 우크라이나 국민의 자유를 회복하고 재건을 돕기 위한 3국 간 공조도 강화해 나아갈 것입니다. 다음으로 우리 세 정상은 공동의 번영과 미래 성장을 위한 협력 방안에 대해 논의하였습니다. 우선 한미일 3국의 국민 경제와 직결된 경제 안보 분야에서 전략적 파트너십을 확대해 나갈 것입니다. 우리는 글로벌 공급망 안정, 에너지 안보를 위한 3국 간 협력을 강화하고 해외 공급망 리스크에 대한 조기 경보 시스템을 함께 구축해 나아가기로 했습니다. 또한 우리는 첨단 기술 분야 협력을 확대해 미래 성장 동력을 확보해 나갈 것입니다. 특히 인공지능, 양자, 바이오, 차세대 정보통신, 우주 분야에서 한미일 협력은 큰 시너지를 낼 수 있습니다. 한미일이 추진하기로 한 국가연구기관 간 공동연구 개발과 인적 교류 확대는 3국이 과학기술 혁신을 주도해 나아가는 초석이 될 것입니다. 더 나아가 우리 3국은 아태 지역의 공동 번영을 위해 아세안과 태도국의 수요에 맞는 효과적인 지원 방안도 함께 모색하고 시행해 나갈 것입니다. 오늘 우리 새 정상은 새 시대를 향한 3국 간 협력의 의지와 가능성을 확인하였습니다. 자유인권 법치라는 핵심 가치에 기반한 한미일의 강력한 가치 연대는 더 평화롭고 번영하는 세계를 만들어 나아가기 위한 든든한 토대가 될 것입니다. 바이든 대통령님의 환대 다시 한번 감사드리며 다음에는 한국에서 우리 세 정상이 다시 만날 수 있기를 기대합니다. 감사합니다.
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of Japan.
はい、まずはじめに、山火事がハワイ州マウイ島にもたらした甚大な被害に関しお見舞いを、申し上げますとともに犠牲になられた方々のご冥福を、心からお祈りを申し上げます。我が国は被災者救援のため、総額200万ドル規模の支援を行うことを決定いたしました。我が国としては被災者の救援および被災地の一日も早い復興に向けて積極的に支援を行ってまいります。本日キャンプデービッドを訪問し我々3人で大変有意義な時間を過ごすことができました。ご招待いただいたジョーに心から御礼を申し上げます。ジョーやユン大統領との信頼関係をさらに深める貴重な機会となりました。今回、史上初めてマルチ会合の機 会ではなく、単独で日米韓首脳会合を開催いたしました。ここキャンプデービッドでは数多くの歴史的な会談が行われてきましたが、その歴史にこうして新たな1ページを刻むことを大変光栄に思っています。日米韓3カ国の協力の礎となるのは盤石な二国間関係です。そのことを我々3人は誰よりも理解し実践してきました。本年1月に私自身が米国を訪問し、その後ユン大統領が3月に日本、4月に米国を訪問され、5月には私自身も韓国を訪問し、相互の関係を強化してきました。今、法の支配に基づく自由で開かれた国際秩序が危機に瀕しています。ロシアによるウクライナ侵略により、国際社会はその根幹が揺るがされています。東シナ海、南シナ海における力による一方的な現状変更の試みは続き、北朝鮮による核・ミサイルの脅威はますます増大をしています。こうした状況において、今、日米韓3カ国の戦略的連携の潜在性を開花させることは、我々にとっての必然であり、また時代の要請でもあります。本日、ここに我々3人は、日米韓パートナーシップの新時代を開いていくという決意を示します。今後、我々3カ国の協力をいかに展開していくのか、3つの観点からお話をさせていただきます。1点目として、日米同盟と米韓同盟の連携を強化し、日米韓3カ国の安全保障協力を新たな高みへと引き上げます。今回の会合では、複数領域に及ぶ日米韓共同訓練を毎年実施することで一致をいたしました。さらに、昨年11月に我々の間で合意した北朝鮮ミサイル警戒情報のリアルタイム共有に関しては、初期的措置を実施し、本年末までのメカニズムの始動に向けて重要な一歩を踏み出しました。また、北朝鮮の核・ミサイル開発の重要な資金源と目されるサイバー活動に関する日米韓ワーキンググループの立ち上げ等で一致をいたしました。2点目は、日米韓の連携の推進とその分野の拡大です。北朝鮮への対応については、地域の抑止力、対処力の強化に加えて、制裁についてその完全な履行に向けた連携の強化を確認するとともに、2024年に日米韓3カ国が理事国として揃う国連安保理でも緊密に連携していくことで一致をいたしました。同時に北朝鮮との対話の道が開かれていることについても認識を共有いたしました。そして私から拉致問題が時間的制約のある人道問題である旨述べ、拉致問題の即時解決に向け、ジョーとユン大統領から力強い指示を改めていただきました。また、自由で開かれた インド太平洋実現に向け、インド太平洋対話や開発協力等を通じて連携をし、その中で、特に ASEAN および太平洋島諸国について、海洋安全保障分野での能力構築支援について強調していくことで一致をいたしました。さらに、経済安全保障分野では、重要振興技術協力やサプライチェーン強靭化にかかる協力等を進めていくことで一致をいたしました。3点目は、日米韓協力の枠組みを整備することです。それによって3カ国の連携を継続的かつ安定的に強化していく土台を作ります。日米韓3カ国のあらゆるレベルで重層的に連携を進めていくことを確認した上で、日米韓首脳会合を少なくとも年に1回開催することで一致をいたしました。また同時に外務大臣、防衛大臣、国家安全保障局長もそれぞれ少なくとも年に1回会合を行うこととしました。さらに財務大臣、商務産業大臣会合も行ってまいります。国際社会が歴史的な転換点にある中、本日発出されるキャンプ・デービッド原則を日米韓協力の新たな羅針盤とし、日米韓首脳共同声明キャンプ・デービッド精神に記された具体的協力を今後力強く実行に移してまいります。ジョー、そしてユン大統領とともに法の支配に基づく自由で開かれた国際秩序を守り抜くため、今後とも日米韓3カ国の戦略的連携の一層の強化に取り組んでまいります。
Thank you. Now we have time for questions. President Biden, please select your reporter first.
Mayor of the AP.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for each of the leaders. It'll be brief but related. President Biden, first for you, how confident should Asia be about a robust American commitment to a nuclear umbrella when the commander-in-chief who preceded you and is looking to succeed you spoke openly about reducing the U.S. footprint in the Korean Peninsula? President Yoon, how much confidence can Japan and the U.S. have about Seoul's long-term commitment to rapprochement when polls show the solid majority of Korea disapproves of your handling and mending of the forced labor issue? And Prime Minister Kishida, what assurances can you give to your country's citizens who fear bolstering your security cooperation in this matter could lead to the country into an economic Cold War with China? And if you'll indulge me, Mr. President, on a domestic matter, what is your reaction to the special counsel appointment last week into your son? Thank you.
First of all, look, there's not much, if anything, I agree on with my predecessor on foreign policy. His America First policy, walking away from the rest of the world, has made us weaker, not stronger. America's strong with our allies and our alliances, and that's why we endure. And it's a strength that, quite frankly, that increases all or three of our strengths. This is just about one summit. What makes today different is it actually launching a series of initiatives that are actually institutional changes in how we deal with one another. And security cooperation, economic cooperation, technology cooperation, development cooperation, consultation exercise, and all of this will create its own momentum, I believe, year by year, month by month, to make relationships stronger and more certain to remain, to be in place. And to the second question, I have no comment on any investigation that's going on. That's up to the Justice Department, and that's all I have to say.
제게 하신 질문에 대해서는 1965년도 한일 협정 그리고 그 후에 정부의 이런 조치와 또 2012년에 대법원에서 내려진 판결과의 그 간극을 조정할 수 있는 공탁 방안을 시행을 하였습니다. 그리고 국내에서는 그런 정부의 조치에 대한 반대 여론도 있습니다만은 우리 국민들은 무엇보다 미래지향적인 관점에서 한일 간의 관계 개선과 한미일의 협력이 우리 안보와 경제 발전에 매우 중요하다고 하는 것에 대한 인식의 공감대를 가지고 있습니다. 앞으로 저희들이 더욱 노력해야 될 문제라고 생각합니다.
はい、私に対する質問につきましては、まず本日の会合において、地域の平和と繁栄を損なうルールに基づく国際秩序と整合しない行動に対する懸念を共有し、法の支配に基づく自由で開かれた国際秩序を守り抜くため、今後とも日米韓3カ国の戦略的連携を一層強化していく、こうした取り組みを進めていきます。そして我が国および地域の対処力、あるいは抑止力、こうしたものを高めていくことによって、国民の命や暮らしを守っていく、あるいは安心につなげていく、こうした取り組みを進めていくことが重要であると思っています。その上で中国については、昨年11月の日中首脳会談で得られた前向きなこのモメンタムを維持しながら主張すべきことは主張し、責任ある行動を強く求めつつ、諸懸案を含め対話をしっかりと重ね、共通の課題については協力をする、こうした建設的かつ安定的な関係を双方の努力によって構築をしていく、これが私の政権の一貫した方針であります。こうした考えに基づいて、ぜひ地域の安定に向けて努力を続けていきたいと考えています。以上です。
President Yoon, next question, please.
투데이 질문하시죠. 박종진 기자. 이쪽.
머니투데이 박종진 기자입니다. 먼저 대한민국 윤석열 대통령께 질문드리겠습니다. 이번 정상 공동성명에서 한미일 관계의 새로운 장이 시작됐다고 선언하셨습니다. 그간 과거의 한미일 정상 간에 논의됐던 내용과 비교해보면 이번에 어떤 부분을 가장 큰 성과로 꼽으시는지요? 그리고 이렇게 한미일이 긴밀히 협력을 하면 우리 국민 입장에서는 실제 삶에서 체감하는 이익이 어떤 것인지 구체적으로 설명해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 다음으로는 바이든 미국 대통령께 질문드리겠습니다. 이번 정상 공동성명에서 억류자, 납치자, 국군 포로 문제 등 북한 인권 문제 해결에 관한 협력 의지를 밝히셨습니다. 그리고 또 자유롭고 평화로운 통일 한반도에 대한 지지도 명시하셨습니다. 그렇다면 앞으로 이런 북한 문제에 대한 접근법이 과거와 달리 어떻게 바뀌는지 그리고 앞으로 이런 문제 해법에 대한 어떤 구상을 가지고 계시는지 말씀해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 끝으로 기시다 일본 총리께 질문드리겠습니다. 오늘의 이 역사적인 한미일 정상회의는 우리 대한민국 대통령이 여러 많은 우려에도 불구하고 한일 관계 개선의 의지를 가지고 결단을 내렸기 때문에 가능했다는 것이 국제사회의 평가입니다. 그럼에도 불구하고 현재 한국에서는 이 한일 관계 개선에 일본이 좀 여전히 소극적인 게 아니냐 이런 우려가 계속 나오고 있습니다. 여기에 대해서 총리께서는 어떻게 생각하시는지, 그리고 한일 양국 국민께, 특히 대한민국 국민께 한일 관계 개선의 진정성을 앞으로 어떻게 보여주실지 좀 구체적인 구상을 말씀해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
먼저 오늘 한미일 삼국 협력의 새로운 장이 시작됨을 선언하였는데, 좀 전에 그 협력과의 차이점이라고 말씀을 드리면, 과거에는 개별 현안에 대해서 협력을 모색을 했다면, 오늘 우리가 삼국 협력의 새로운 장은 안보, 경제, 과학기술, 그리고 글로벌 사우스에 대한 개발 협력, 또 보건, 여성 이런 모든 문제에 대해서 삼국이 긴밀하게 공조하기로 했다는 포괄적인 협력의 장이라고 먼저 설명드릴 수 있겠습니다. 이러한 그 포괄적인 협력의 시대를 연 것은 지금의 복합 위기와 이 도전의 시대가 우리 삼국의 그 역할과 기여에 의해서 전 세계 모든 인류의 자유, 평화, 번영에 크게 기여할 수 있다는 그런 자신감, 그런 역량이 있다는 인식에 기초하고 있습니다. 그리고 우리 삼국의 공동 이익은 우리들만의 배타적인 이익이 아니라 전 세계의 자유, 평화, 번영에 기여하는 보편적 이익과 부합하고, 거기에 우리 삼국의 공동 이익이 함께 있다고 말씀드릴 수 있습니다. 그리고 삼국 간에 이렇게 포괄적인 협력 체계가 가동이 되면, 먼저 공급망 안정, 또 금융 외환 시장에 있어서의 안정, 또 첨단 과학기술의 협력, 이런 것들이 원활하게 이루어지고, 우리 삼국은 전 세계에서 최상급의 이런 과학기술 역량을 갖추고 있는 국가이고, 또 민주주의를 잘 실현하고 있는 국가입니다. 그렇기 때문에 당연히 우리 삼국의 경제 발전과 과학기술 발전, 그로 인한 국민들의 어떤 경제적 혜택, 안보 이런 것에 실질적 체감 혜택이 올 것이라고 생각합니다. 그러나 중요한 것은 우리 삼국 국민들만의 혜택과 그런 이익의 체감도 중요하지만, 우리 삼국이 힘을 합쳤을 때 전 세계의 자유, 평화, 번영에 기여할 수 있고, 그것이 곧 우리 삼국과 삼국 국민들의 이익이라고 하는 점을 강조하고 싶습니다.
Look, back in May of 2022, I met with the families of the Japanese abductees during my visit, heard their stories, and empathized with them, and got a sense of the pain they're feeling. It's real. We know there are many families out there who still wait and worry and wonder. We're not going to forget about them or their loved ones. And there's clear language on this, on our joint statement. The bottom line is this, that we share a common position. We're committed to working together to see the return of all prisoners of war and those who have been abducted and detained. And by the way, one of the things we get asked many times, and it wasn't directly asked but implied, is what makes us think any of this is positive? Success brings success. When other nations see cooperation in the region, they make judgments about would they be better off if they make commitments. Will they move? think about, as students of history, all of you, and you are, think about how many times successes have generated other successes when you don't anticipate. And so I just think this is we're not going to forget, we're not giving up, and we're going to continue to make the case for the freedom of all of those detainees.
私に対する質問ですが、まず私は日韓関係の強化にかける強い思い、これをユン大統領と共有をしています。日韓は国際社会の課題の対処に協力していくべき重要な隣国同士であり、ユン大統領との友情と信頼関係のもと、日韓がパートナーとして力を合わせて新しい時代を切り開いていきたいと考えています。本年、ユン大統領を日本にお迎えし、私自身も訪韓をし、また国際会議の場でも会談を重ねてきました。その中で日韓間では安保や経済を含むさまざまな分野で前向きな具体的なこの取り組みがすでにダイナミックに動いています。経済安全保障協議の立ち上げも決まりました。輸出管理分野の進展も行われました。また財務大臣やあるいは防衛大臣同士の会談も実施をされました。そしてこうした前向きな動きはこれだけではなくして民間においても大きな動きが次々と今起こっています。民間の人的交流あるいは経済界の交流、こうしたことにおいても非常に活発な動きが出てきている、これが現実であります。これからも今後もこうした取り組みを一つ一つ、ユン大統領とともに積み上げることによって日韓関係をさらに強化していきたいと思います。こうした結果を出すことによってぜひ日本のこの日韓関係に対する思いをしっかり理解していただけるよう努力を続けていきたいと考えています。
Prime Minister Kishida, please select your reporter.
はい。はい。ですね、私はですね、共同通信の田尻さんにお願いいたします。
共同通信の田尻です。歴史あるここキャンプデービッドでの首脳会談についてそれぞれ質問させていただきます。まずバイデン大統領への質問です。今回の首脳会談でも言及があったと思いますが、ロシアによるウクライナ侵攻が続いている中、ウクライナ和平に向けて日本にどんな役割を期待されているでしょうか。岸田首相は東アジア地域で中国の脅威が高まっている中、ウクライナは明日の東アジアかもしれないと発言しております。バイデン大統領はこの発言をどのように評価されておられますでしょうか。それから中国の脅威が高まるアジア情勢の中で日本、アメリカ、韓国の関係が重層的に強化されるということはどういった意義があるとお考えでしょうか。続いて、ユン・ソンニョル大統領に質問いたします。北朝鮮による核・ミサイル開発は日本、韓国、アメリカにとって安全保障上の大きな脅威となっています。北朝鮮による挑発行為がエスカレートする中、日米韓の3カ国がパートナーシップの新時代を宣言するということにはどういった意味があるとお考えでしょうか。また福島第一原発の処理水について今日の日米韓、日韓首脳会談で岸田首相から説明があったのかどうか教えていただけますでしょうか。ユン大統領は先日の日韓会談で IAEA の報告書を尊重する姿勢を示しておられます。韓国内で反対する声が根強い中、なぜ岸田政権の方針に理解を示すのか、理由も合わせて教えてください。最後に岸田首相への質問になります。日米韓首脳会談は国際会議ではなく単独で行われるのは今回が初めてです。 会談で、日米韓の安保協力を新たな高みへ引き上げると表明されましたが、東アジア地域の安全保障環境に対して、そして、拉致問題が解決しない中で核ミサイル開発を続ける北朝鮮に対してどういった意味があるとお考えでしょうか。また東シナ海、南シナ海で海洋進出による一方的な現状変更を試みる中国に対して日米韓のこの新事態の協力にどういった意味があるとお考えでしょうか。
Let me begin by saying you have a great imagination. One question ends up being six, but thank you. I'll try to answer all of them. I'm glad I didn't have you as my law professor when I said one question. Anyway, they're all legitimate questions. Look, on Ukraine, I and my country and the leadership of my country and both parties are very grateful for everything Japan is helping to do within Ukraine. And I mean that sincerely. They showed strong leadership through the G7 as well and contributed to a significant amount of financial and humanitarian assistance to Ukraine, as well as non-lethal military equipment. And, and they've joined so many other nations in holding Russia accountable through international sanctions. If my memory serves me well, and I think it does, Mr. Prime Minister, we found ourselves in a circumstance where when I called you about Ukraine, I didn't have to convince you of anything. I started off to make the case that Ukraine was a circumstance where to think in the first quarter of the 20th century, another country would amass over 150,000 forces on the border of another country, 150,000 forces, and invade that country without any rationale other than if you read Putin's speech after he invaded. He talked about Kyiv being the motherland, it just was ridiculous, I think, and he talked about being Peter the Great. It was just, imagine if we'd done nothing. Imagine if we'd done nothing. And the point was immediately recognized, if I'm not mistaken, by you, Mr. Prime Minister, that we're in a situation where it could happen anywhere. We stood still. What's the that said in China about Taiwan? What's the that said around the world? The nation is more powerful on borders. Here's the deal. You contributed significantly to what I think is already let me put it this way. Russia has already lost. It cannot meet its original objective, which it stated. It's not possible. But they've joined so many other nations in holding Russia accountable for international sanctions. And Japan's leadership from day one has been critical for making it clear that the consequences for war extend well beyond Europe. Well beyond Europe. I say it in reverse. What would happen if an Asian country with 150,000 troops invaded another? I think that would not affect the interest, the economy, and foreign policy of nations in Europe and Latin America, all across the world. It would have profound impact. And with Japan's leadership from day one has been critical, making clear the consequences of this war extend well beyond Europe. Well beyond Europe. It's a global issue. It has impacts everywhere, and Prime Minister's comments at Shangri-La captured it. And by the way, what we talked about this being an inflection point. The world's changing. The world is changing. And about every 6 or 7 generations it makes significant change. And there's a lot happening. And the idea that we're going to sit down with the rest of the world and say, well, that's only a European problem. There hasn't been that kind of invasion since World War II. And so, as for peace, we all want that, of course. Ukrainians want it most of all. And my team has been working very closely with President Zelensky's team and further peace formula, noting that nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, but nonetheless, we're meeting with them constantly. And your other 2 questions about China. I'll just say this summit was not about China. That was not the purpose of the meeting, but it did come, China obviously came up. Not to say we don't share concerns about the economic coercion or heightened tensions caused by China, but this summit was really about our relationship with each other and deepening cooperation across an entire range of issues that went well beyond just the immediate issues we raised. It was about more peaceful and prosperous Indo-Pacific, a region, quite frankly, that would benefit everyone living there and around the world if we get it right. It's not just here. It has a phenomenal impact. Think about what's going. Anyway, I won't get going. It'll take too long. As you've seen from the initiatives we're announcing here, today is just how committed we are to see this vision take place. And I think this relationship that we put together, and I think you're going to see it expanded. It's not really what we did today. This is a historic meeting, but we've laid in place a long-term structure for a relationship that will last and having a phenomenal impact not just in Asia but around the world. Someone once said in a different context that about healthcare provision in my country a while ago. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. Thank you. I have to answer the question.
제게 주신 질문에 대해서 말씀을 드리겠습니다. 먼저 북한의 핵 미사일 도발과 그 위협에 대해서 우리 3국의 대응 체계가 어떠한지에 대해서 말씀을 드리겠습니다. 우리 3국의 이런 협력 체계 중에 가장 핵심적이고 가장 상징적인 분야가 바로 안보 협력 분야입니다. 우리 3국에 대한 어떠한 도발과 공격도 우리 삼각 안보 체계라고 하는 결정체 구조를 더욱 단단하게, 더욱 견고하게 만들 것이라는 말씀을 먼저 드립니다. 그리고 정찰 자산을 통한 미사일 정보의 실시간 공유, 그리고 거기에 대응하기 위한 체계적인 훈련, 일시적인 훈련이 아니라 계획에 의한 연례 정기적인 훈련, 이런 것들이 북의 미사일 도발에 대한 우리의 대응 방안이라고 할 수 있겠습니다. 그리고 후쿠시마 오염수 문제는 오늘 회의에서 의제로 되지는 않았습니다. 그러나 주신 질문에 대해서 제 말씀을 드리면은 후쿠시마 오염수가 어떠한 영향을 미친다고 하면 그것은 태평양을 돌아서 많은 국가의 국민들에게 우리 삼국뿐만이 아니라 영향을 줄 수 있을 것입니다. 그렇기 때문에 우리 삼국 국민과 또 모든 인류의 건강과 안전이 최우선적으로 고려되어야 한다고 생각합니다. 그리고 이 오염수의 처리에 대해서는 과학에 기반한 투명한 과정을 통해서 처리되어야 하고, 저희는 국제적으로 공신력이 있는 IAEA의 그 점검을, 그 결과를 신뢰하고 있습니다. 다만 이것이 IAEA의 점검과 그 계획대로 처리가 되는지에 대해서는 일본, 한국을 포함해서 국제사회에서 책임 있는 그리고 투명한 그런 점검이 필요하다고 생각합니다.
はい、私に対する質問ですが、ご指摘のあったこの北朝鮮によるこの核・ミサイル開発や東シナ海、南シナ海における一方的な現状変更の試みをはじめ、日米韓3カ国を取り巻く安全保障環境、これは日々厳しさを増しています。こうした中で、今回の会合においては、この日米同盟と米韓同盟の連携を強化し、日米韓安全保障協力を新たな高みへ引き上げていく、こうしたことで一致をいたしました。これはまさに時代の要請であり、今次会合を経て日米韓の安全保障協力が地域の平和と安定を一層促進 強化するものになったと確信をしております。特に北朝鮮については、複数領域に及ぶ日米韓共同訓練を毎年実施することや、北朝鮮のサイバー活動に対処するためのワーキンググループの立ち上げなど、具体的な成果を打ち出すことができたと感じています。また私の方から拉致問題については、時間的制約のある人道問題である、このように述べ、拉致問題の即時解決に向けて、上党ユン大統領から力強い支持を改めていただきました。また併せて北朝鮮との対話の道が開かれていることについても認識を共有いたしました。さらに両大統領との間で改めて力による一方的な現状変更については強く反対する、この点で一致をいたしました。法の支配に基づく自由で開かれた国際秩序を守り抜くために、今後とも日米韓3カ国で連携をしながら戦略的なこの連携の強化に向けて、一層取り組んでいきたいと考えています。以上です。
This concludes.
Follow up on our conversation on Bali this fall. That's my expectation. Thank you.
This concludes our press conference. Please stay seated as the leaders depart, please. Please stay seated.
Down! Down in front! Down in front!